Welcome to the SQOLOGY Podcast. Many thanks to Resonix Sound Solutions for making this podcast a reality. Find out more about Resonix sound treatments at resonixsoundsolutions.com.
Stop! What happened? How about the ones we especially like? Which ones? You know, the ones with the cars that go. I hear you. Hit it.
Yep.
So we're done, or we keep going, or what? Is this the actual interview, or we're just chatting?
is this the thing? I mean, I think this is. I think we just start somewhere in there and we just roll in. But anyway, welcome to the SQOLOGY Podcast. We are with Michael Myers.
Hello, guys.
And Vin, I'll let you handle your last name because I will screw it up because I'm looking at it and I know it doesn't sound like what it looks like. So why don't you just go ahead and give us your name?
It's Vin Quach.
Well, that's pretty close to what it looks like.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easier than it looks, actually.
Because I feel like other people don't say it that way. So
yeah, I've heard it a few different ways, honestly.
There's a few different ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
I mean, I don't care.
So Vin is probably one of the more energetic people in car audio that I've ever met. It's always fun to be around him at an event because I always feel a little bit more energized for it, and his excitement is palpable in car audio. Unfortunately, I really don't know much about your history and things, Vin. So I guess start us out where you kind of got into car audio and why, and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, I started in audio in the 90s. Even before car audio, it was actually my parents. They had this nice system. They had Adcom amps and two massive Infinity tower speakers. So big that actually I could crawl into it if I took a speaker out. It was that big.
Wow.
Right? So the weird thing is they had the system, but they never really listened to it. Never. So I actually listened to it more and more when they left, when they went out, so I could crank it up.
All right.
It's so nice. I mean, back then it was so nice. I mean, this is, 90s technology here. That's, I don't know if it was good or bad, but it was okay.
Yeah.
So what I kind of got into where it was kind of weird, I got into enclosures. So I used to take apart speakers throughout the whole house and see how it worked. Strange, right? Even clock radios. I mean, I'm just seeing it like, why is it not making any sound? And why it doesn't sound pleasant anymore when you remove the speaker from the enclosure? It just stings. My parents were pissed. My parents got pissed because half the time I couldn't put it back together, basically.
All right.
Yeah. So at this time, I mean, this is probably like my junior year in high school. And most of my friends, they had systems in their cars. They had, booming systems, a bunch of bass, the way it was, just a bunch of bass, some highs. That's it. Well, after my junior year in the summertime, I was hanging out at a buddy's house. He had a car audio magazine. I was like, car audio. I didn't really think about car audio that much because it's what I'm used to, because it's like a lot of crappy bass booming systems. So I was thumbing through the magazine. I was reading about some competition about how there's, imaging and staging and, flat RTA responses back then. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. That's more sophisticated than I thought. So the upcoming year, my senior year, I took woodshop. And I remember my teacher asking all of us what projects we wanted to do that year. I said I wanted to build speaker boxes.
Nice.
They all had a good laugh, and that was literally what I built that year. I had a horrible teacher, by the way. He didn't care. So that senior year, my parents, they let me borrow an old BMW 7 Series that I drove to school and back. And that car, I used a lot of, for the lack of better words, I would say swap me great equipment, just trashy equipment. But that's what got me going. I also practiced and installed systems for friends' cars for a little bit of cash, but it was mostly for experience. So it was something, it kind of grew on me, doing car audio. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
And back then, I mean, there was no internet, right? So I had to went to stereo shops and to see what they had and just see, basically hang out. So I basically went to one or two shops that let me hang out in the install bay, chatting up with the guys in the back. And that's when I started to learn about how things worked and how things were, gets installed and stuff like that. The right way, basically, to do things.
Yeah.
So that I would say that middle of the year, I guess, I bought my first nice amp. It was a Phoenix Gold M25.
Hmm.
And it kind of got me into nicer gear because it was quiet. I mean, all the swap meet stuff, it was noisy. It was just crap stuff. So this amp was nice. It was clean, quiet. So that's what really got me into car audio. So I would say my first car that I actually put decent equipment in was a late 90s Lexus ES, I think. So I went through many, many systems in that car. Actually, that car it was in a magazine. It was in one of the car stereo magazines. I forgot which one it was, but it was actually in one from my install. Because the car audio magazine companies, they're all local to me. I live close to Disneyland, basically, by the way. And
okay.
yeah, I live real close to it. And like these car audio magazine companies were around there. So I emailed one of them, and I spoke to them. They said, "Oh yeah, bring it by. We'll take some pictures. We'll do a little interview with you." So after that, I went off to college, and I didn't really mess with the system much. But after college is when I started getting back into it. I got my first job, and I had a little money in my pocket, basically.
Yeah.
So in the mid 2000s, I say, I joined ECA and DEMA. And that's where I started learning stuff here and there, good and bad things. But yeah, I learned some stuff. But the best thing was I met locals who were doing the same thing I was doing. Messing around with systems and just, messing around, basically.
Mm. Yep.
So this was the first time I went active. I believe it was an Alpine H700 or 701, one of those two. I mean, it blew my mind that processor replaced multiple analog processors. Right? It was really neat. I mean, just one box, that's it. Instead of having, crossover, an EQ, whatever else you needed back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through a few active setups, and I still remember my favorite was a simple 2-way plus sub active. I believe it was an old ScanSpeak tweeter and a Morel 8 and some random sub. I think some Fingers Gold amps or whatever amps it was in there.
Hmm.
So, I mean, but it sounded great though. I mean, Jim Becker told me it was one of the best sounding cars that he's ever heard at the time.
That's a pretty big statement.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, not one of the best. I mean, till today, he'll say it's probably his top 10, no problem. If you ask him, he'll probably say the same thing. So this is when I actually met Jim Becker, Michael Silverman, and a friend named Ing Sodi Juno. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm kind of like
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. I can't quite pronounce his last name, but okay. But his name is Ing. He helped me tune, and he actually showed me how to tune. So that's when I started to get into competition. So at that time, there wasn't much competition. There was only one org in my area. It was Iasca. That's it. And I competed in the Lexus, and I won Rookie of the Year that year in my region that year.
What year is this?
05, 06, around there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next season, I was feeling really good about it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy another car. Because this car, I mean, I've had for years. I drilled all these holes in it. I just want something new and just wanted to work on something new. I wanted a hatchback, actually.
Yeah.
So that year, I bought a Honda Fit. Brand new Honda Fit. Now, being, bitten by the competition bug, I was seriously planning to build on the way home from the dealership.
That's funny.
I was touching plastics like, man, that plastic is gonna rattle, man. So I kind of planned out where I'm gonna put sound deadening. The following week, the car was stripped. I stripped the entire interior, except the dash, to do sound deadening in that car. And that car needed a ton of sound deadening. It was just cheap. It was such a cheap car.
Well, it's their entry level car,
Yeah.
so you got to cut costs somehow,
Yeah, the plastics were. I cannot believe the plastics were that. Well, whatever the case was, I did a whole bunch of sound deadening in that car. It helped a lot, but and I started building that car up. So that upcoming season, or that season actually, Jim Becker was winning every competition. He was slaying everyone. Everyone. I mean, we basically came there for a second place. And Jim was just beating everybody.
Yeah.
And at that time, I mean, Ing, he was still helping me tune, but Ing, he only could tune so much, I guess. So he knew a guy who worked for Panasonic ELS at the time. His name was Natan.
Oh,
So this
yeah.
is like, 06, 05. I'm still around that time. We flew him out to California to tune for us. And the tunes were great. I mean, I can't remember what I don't think I won my class, but I was still pleased with the results. But yeah, that's when I first met Natan. He looks the same. He looks the same now as he did back then too. So after that finals, so this is basically 2 years of competition under my belt. The promoter quit. I'm not sure what the story was, but he just left. There's nothing else. Crickets, nothing.
Right.
So for about 5 or 6 or so years, I had no competition. I was just focused on whatever I was doing, just messing around with my car, messing around with speakers still, but I was not competing.
Did y'all have like those DIY mobile audio get-togethers and stuff?
Yeah, well, yeah. Initially, that's what. So we had quite a few of those get-togethers, basically, and that's what kept me going. Basically, I kept on. I was like, if you don't do it for a while, you might lose interest in it. A lot of people do.
Oh yeah.
So that's what kept me going. Basically, I went to events. On Dyma, they had the show the events, and I think Marv barbecues up in the Bay
Oh
Area.
yeah, yep, I remember those.
Yeah, those were all. So that's what all that stuff kind of kept me. It kept me wanting to do something. So in 2014, Jim Becker started to promote shows. See, basically, he's doing what Richard was doing now, basically.
Right.
So and that's the same year I bought my Mercedes. So the following year, I put a small system in that Mercedes because stock sucks, right? And I think it was like an Alpine PDX amp and an H800 and a couple of ScanSpeak speakers. It wasn't nice like the Lexus, but it kept me happy basically. So I think around 2000, the following year, Richard took over as promoter for Jim. Is that I suspect Jim wanted to tune that year. I mean, he wanted to compete again. So that's the reason why Jim just stepped back from promoting these shows. So he was just a competitor. And that was when I met Richard. So that year, 2016, that's when Richard introduced me to John Borges of Zapco.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I started running Zapco amplifiers.
Okay.
So that season, I built and tuned my car myself, and I struggled with the tuning part. I'm not as polished as because like I said, I stopped messing around with this stuff for like a good 5-6 years. So I wasn't really good at it anymore. So I got Jim to help me tune, and my scores it improved greatly. Basically, it did so well that I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna try to go to finals. So 2016, I went out to I think that's when I met you, Mike.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I went out to finals.
Yeah. It's Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky, Louisville. Yeah, Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought it was just, one-time thing. I just wanted to experience finals, but I loved it. So I kept going. So that year I drove out with Paul and Nick Adams.
Yeah.
To World Finals. It was a hell of a time. It was fun. Driving there, it's like 30 hours each way. So it's not quick, obviously, but we had a blast. We ate great food. That's the first time I've ever eaten fresh breakfast sausage in Arkansas. It was amazing. I've never had that before in my life. I've never had, I've had like, stuff that you would eat like at, Denny's or whatever it is.
It's funny how going from California to the South is like going to a different country. It's like
it really is. It's like freshly patted breakfast sausage.
It's like you went to Austria for finals. I went to Arkansas. So,
so that year, Jim was tuning all 3 of our cars, me and both the Adam guys.
Yeah,
and he flew out to help touch up our tunes, but unfortunately, I blew a tweeter. I'm not sure when, but I suspect it was when I was cranking like AC/DC or something like that, something trashy kind of like that.
Yeah.
Loud as hell driving there. And some say Matt Roberts, got a little volume happy in my car. when he was judging my car. But truth be told, man, Jim mentioned something might be wrong with my tweeters before I got judged. So it wasn't really Matt.
Yeah. He just kind of finished it off.
It was barely hanging on probably, and he finished it off.
Yeah.
But whatever the case, I mean, like I said, it's not a big deal. I mean, but after a tweeter was blown, I believe Matt was my first judge that day, first or second. No, I take it back. Second judge, Vinny Taylor was in my car first, and he didn't say anything about a blown tweeter. He just judged it.
Yeah.
Right, and I got a horrible score from him. Later on, I found out Vinny judged my car with a blown tweeter. I was like, so why'd you judge my car with a blown tweeter? He said that I don't know. I thought that was the way you tuned it. Right?
Like, that's what you brought me.
That's what you brought me, man. It's not my fault. It's blown, but whatever the case is. So I knew I had a full day of judging was left. I was doing the extra show, the cap off for the next season show, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought I was done. I asked around, nobody had my tweeter that they would lend me. So I went and I asked Scott Welch. This is the first year I was there, so I didn't really know anybody. So he graciously walked me around asking people if they had spare tweeters. So, and that was, it was really nice of him, right? Because he was busy with his own guys too.
Oh, yeah.
So for some strange luck, Winfred Dennison happened to have a pair of tweeters in his pocket.
Yeah, Winfred would.
He would, right? And like, he wasn't even competing. He was just hanging out. You know the way he is. He's hanging out there. I'm like, why the hell do you have tweeters in your pocket? Just randomly. So he gave it to me. He's like, hey, take these. Use them and send it back to me when when you get back to California. And I did that. I think there are AP audible physics tweeters. I think.
Okay.
There are some gold dome tweeters. I forgot but there are aluminum dome tweeters or titanium.
Right.
So my car wasn't tuned. Obviously, it wasn't tuned for those tweeters.
Sure.
So I mean, I was like, you know what? It's better than getting judged with a blown tweeter.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? Just send it. Let's go ahead and do it. So if I recall, I placed 6th in modified that season, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of cars. There was, what was it, like 15, 16 cars or something like that?
Yeah, modified's a stacked class every year, it seems like. So I placed pretty high still, even with a blown tweeter.
Yeah.
I mean, even with tweeters is not tuned for my car. So today I'm very thankful to, people, Winfred and Scott Welch are helping me out. I met a lot of people that year. I mean, you and all these guys, right? And I'm still friends with them today. So after finals, when I was driving back, I had a lot of time to think, 30 hours, right? So what the hell else are you going to do?
Right, yeah.
I had a lot of time to think. So I listened to some of the competitors' cars, and I really wanted to do something bigger, something larger. But I couldn't do it with this car because at this time, the car was only a couple years old. I paid a lot of money for it. I'm not even done paying it off yet. So I didn't want to chop it up. So what I really wanted was something like big mid-ranges, big mid-bass, big stuff. What everybody wants, basically, right? But they can't do because they didn't want to modify their car too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought I was daydreaming, but it was a lot of time to think, like I said. So, luck would have it, a few months later, a childhood friend of mine, he called me up and told me he was letting go of his BMW. I asked him how much. He said that I can have it. Of course, the car needed a ton of work. Mechanically, it was oil leaking everywhere. I mean, it's a BMW, right?
Right.
Oil leaking everywhere, water. I mean, no water in the radiator, all that stuff. So I spent like a month or two just fixing all that stuff, just fixing. I probably spent more money in that car than just buying another one. I could have just bought another one that was in good condition and not have to do all that work, basically.
Right.
But whatever. I mean, you get dug into this hole, and I just kept doing it. I just went with it, basically. So the week after I got the car running right, I stripped the car again, like the Honda Fit, down to bare bones, including the dash. So this is when I decided to build a big system like I wanted, a system that it was just big. So what I had visually envisioned initially was a 2-way plus sub, like in the Lexus, but with proper sized enclosures for both the mid and the sub. So I used the ScanSpeak Illuminator 5.5-inch mid range. I think it was a quarter cubic feet box on each corner of the dash. So that worked well, but I found out that having a mid range that plays mid bass that high, it would not play mid bass very well.
Yeah.
It's too close to you. It's too close to you now, right? It just doesn't happen. But I was like I said, I was just gonna roll with it and see what happens. And for the sub, is the interesting part of the car is where there's a cubby hole in the passenger side engine compartment. And so I made an enclosure inside the footwell on the right side, and I sealed off that cubby hole on the engine compartment side, and I made a big hole. I cut open like maybe like a 7 by a foot inch, 7-inch by a 12-inch hole. So basically, both enclosures are acting as this one big enclosure now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the enclosure turned out to be about 1.7 cubic feet.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it was pretty big. I mean, it was bigger than. So initially, I thought, you know what, let's do a 12. But I mean, like I said, I built it for a 12-inch sub. Then I measured it and I found out, it's too big of an enclosure. But I was like, you know what, let's roll with it again. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? So I ended up using an Illusion Audio C12XL that I bought from Paul Adams.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It sounded great. So after building it, I threw in some amps that I had laying around in the back. Jim Becker threw that quick tune for me the night before the show, and I won Best of Show.
Nice.
This is the first competition that I went to. I think it was the winter show, the very first show. So it's a good show, and it's something we could go off on because it's pretty. None of us really heard at this time. Nobody really heard around here. Never really heard like a good upfront sub car. It dug pretty deep. So when you get that, if you get that upfront bass that's like planted up there, nothing ever really pulls. But you know if you hear sometimes you hear cars. I'm sure you guys judge. You guys know it. You hear cars where the bass is up there, but sometimes it pulls back. You guys know that feeling, right? For cars that you guys judge. Well, this at the time, the bass was just planted up there. I mean, like I said, I've never experienced that. I've never heard a car with an upfront sub at the time. So I was like I said, I'm just gonna roll with it and see what happens. Later on that season, I met John Yee from True Technology.
Oh yeah.
He had new amps coming out and wanted to sponsor our local team to compete. So I ended up renting I think 3 True Tungsten Grandes, 3 of them. And the car did well. I ended up bringing the car out to finals again. And that year, I think I placed 5th in Masters.
What year was that one?
17? I want to say 17.
Okay, yeah.
17
Still
or 18.
Kentucky.
Maybe 18. No, maybe 18. It's one of those two.
Still in the Louisville days.
Yeah, still Louisville. Yeah. I think that was the last year of Louisville. I think
2019 was the
or
last
19.
one.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So that was 19 then. That was 19 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember us talking in 19.
Yeah. So the 2020 year was, the COVID year. So it was out in the fields, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So after that Masters, after I got 5th in Masters, I had to be back to work in a few days. So I left right after the judge was done with my car. The last judge was done.
Oh, wow.
You guys won't believe me, but I made it to Albuquerque in one drive.
Holy moly.
And I was back at work by Tuesday.
Possessed.
Hey, man, it's a lot to think, man. It's just you just go with it. Just drive. I mean, sometimes that's, you don't have the time off. You just do what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, that car, on paper, the build, it seemed easy to blend the front subs to front mid basses. But it really wasn't. Because, like I said, the fives didn't quite go down low enough. And if you brought the front sub too much, your ears basically will localize that sub.
Yeah, it drags it down.
Yeah, it directs it down there. So it was not easy. It wasn't easy. So I just on the way home, I was thinking, man, maybe I should do something else. Or not do something else, but maybe do. I mean, I was thinking about doing kick panels, but I can't because I have the mid bases there already. I have the sub there already, so I couldn't do
Yeah.
anything there. So actually, Linda Kobayashi once told me sarcastically, "So you have a front sub? Let me know when you put a sub in the driver's side." I'm like, because she has her little smart car. She has a sub up front too.
Yeah.
So and she fights with the same tuning problems that I had to fight with, basically. So she
Yeah.
knows. So she know, right? So 2020 came around and so did the COVID lockdown, right? So that was a perfect opportunity for me to build dedicated mid-bass woofer doors, sealed doors, basically. So these are sealed cabinets that built into each door, left and right sides of the door. So I literally took each door off the car. Like it was laying on a table, each door, and I did fiberglass and wood and made enclosures. And I mean, to this day, the window only goes down halfway. It hits the back of the enclosure.
All right.
You know, it's actually embarrassing when I go to a drive-through
Yeah.
and I can't roll the window all the way down.
Been
And I can imagine them thinking, "Why don't you just roll the whole damn window down?" When I'm struggling I'm struggling bringing food into the car because the window can't go down all the way.
You just be like, it's basically a Countach. You know, it's like
No, I tell them it's a BMW. That's why it's
Yeah.
broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty embarrassing, but it's kind of funny. Even when I was going out to World Finals a few years later, I had to throw money into a machine to go through the
oh yeah.
the
toll booth?
the toll road. Yeah. I missed because my window couldn't go all the way down,
Oh no.
and then the coins hit the glass and just fell on the floor, and I had to grab them and throw them back into the hopper, I guess, the change hopper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is, right? I
The
mean, for
things we do
kicks,
for
this is
fun.
around COVID time, right? So for kicks, I actually drove the car around the block a few times without the doors, just for kicks. I mean, the car worked. It still works. I mean,
Basically a Jeep.
Yeah. Right.
yeah, it was basically a Jeep. I mean, it was. This is COVID, so nobody was out. There was no one out in the streets.
Who's gonna stop me?
Yeah, who the cops are even out here, man? Who the hell is going to care, right?
Hey, at least you had a reason to wear a mask then while you were driving your car. Unlike a lot of other people.
So during that time, I mean, I went to gym to get tuned, and we were onto something here by now. We didn't have to use this wild crossover points anymore with the front mid range and the front sub. Now they're more in a more suited pass band for them now. So it was kind of nice. It was much better. It was much more balanced left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 2020 was kind of a wash for me because there wasn't any shows. So I didn't really go to, any more shows. I mean, I stayed home and just refined the install. Finished the trunk, did the back wall did the true amps in the back wall. And, it's kind of nice to see a car at these shows with a full trunk and a spare tire. And that's what the BMW had. Right. So later on, so I think it was the off season by now. So it was like, around November, December. Jim Becker had a 15-inch audio development sub, which was originally owned by Paul Adams. So both, these are both world champions. They passed down the sub to me. So I was like, you know what? Let's try it. Because I knew the enclosure was too big for that 12. I was like, you know what? F it. Let's cut up that. I'm going to cut up that enclosure for 15. So I made the hole bigger, put the 15-inch. It was amazing.
Nice.
It solves a lot of problems of the bass going deep, not deep enough, basically, before the 12. But I still had to boost, maybe 20 hertz, 25 hertz a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, this is when you actually heard the car with the 15 at the last World Finals that I went to.
Yeah. In
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah. So that year, I was like, you know what? I mean, I should have gone to finals with the sub. I mean, I would have gone if I had this 15 in because it was just incredible. I mean, it's not that much bigger than a 12, but it made a huge difference, right? So so I started focusing on the next year, which was 2021. But 2020 also marked the passing of my friend Michael Silverman. He passed that way from from being. I think he had some illness. I think I'm not totally sure. It wasn't COVID related though.
Okay.
So I wanted to build something to tribute him a little, tribute for him basically.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't use the BMW because it was already done. So it's kind of silly, right? It was kind of lazy basically.
Right.
So I reached out to my friends Casey and Natasha at Morel, and they loved the idea. So they helped me out with the build. So in late 2020 and 21, I built a Mercedes. I brought that car out to final too, because that's what Michael. So Michael, that year he passed, he had went to go to finals also. That was his first year. He went to go finals to compete. His car has been amazing all these years in the past too. It has been amazing. But yeah, so I did that basically for him, basically. So in 2021, the COVID restrictions relaxed a little bit, and I was able to, bring the Mercedes out to competition. But I still had obligations with True Technology. So I was like,
Right.
F it, I'm going to bring both cars out to competition.
Okay.
So both cars did well, and had the realization that, because you know what? I could compete with both cars this year. So for the rest of the season, I would bring the Mercedes out to a show, get it judged, and drive it back and get the BMW to get that car judged too. So I got 2 cars judged at each show just to get qualified, right?
Yeah.
So I was lucky. A buddy of mine, he was in between jobs at the time, and he had a few weeks off that lined up with finals. So he drove the Mercedes, I drove my BMW, and we also caravaned with Yaxio and Paul Tran.
Okay.
Arkansas. That was Arkansas finals.
Yeah.
So the trip was like, it took 2 days to get there. It was a big difference between going to Louisville and versus Arkansas. Because the Arkansas was it took 2 days, two 12-hour days to drive there.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. we did it. We did it, no problem. But both my cars placed. The Mercedes placed 4th and 4th in modified, and the BMW was 3rd in masters.
Okay.
So they both did well.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad but the problem was those cars, bringing 2 cars out, I had to pay for 2 of everything.
Oh yeah, that gets pretty pricey, pretty fast.
2 gases, 2 cars. You had to dump gas in 2 cars, 2 hotel rooms, food, entry fees. It was a lot of money. But you know what? Like I said, it was from Michael Silverman. So as we had, I did it basically.
That's
so
cool.
I'm sorry.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I say, he was a good friend. I knew him since when I met Jim Becker and those guys. So it's a good friend of mine. But in 2022, which is Missouri, that little town of Lebanon, Missouri.
Yep.
I only brought the BMW, and I think I got 3rd place in Masters. I believe.
Yeah, I remember hearing it there.
Yeah, you were there that year. Yeah, both of you guys were there that year. And now today I've after that event, when I drove home, the BMW home, I literally just parked the car and left it there. The BMW. I left it there for like 2 years basically, because I really wanted to finish the Mercedes and compete with the Mercedes.
Yeah, the last few times I've been to California, I've only saw your Mercedes.
Yeah, you only saw my. Yeah, like I said, I didn't compete in the BMW all these years, the last two or so years. I don't think I even washed the car until 3 or 4 months after that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I just parked it there. I just left it there. So that car was actually in a small flood. So it was parked in the area where it's kind of like in a slope, and like we had a big rainstorm for like a week, and then all the drain holes on the sunroof was just overran basically. So the water went inside the cabin. And I didn't know until like maybe a month later. And can you believe that water and sun? There was mold everywhere. And just sogginess everywhere, right? I was like so pissed. I was like, what the heck? So I literally brought all the windows down. I left the car with all the gear inside the car. I left it just to air out for literally as I locked the door and left the windows down. I mean, anybody could have gotten there and just grabbed stuff if they wanted to. I let it air out for probably a week, and it still wasn't really dry yet. So I had to I lift the carpet up and put things there so air would get underneath the carpet. And maybe a few months later, it was totally dry. But yeah, the car wasn't that bad of a shape. But since it sat there for a few years, I mean, I kind of got back to that feeling where I want to do something big again. So the last year and a half, I've been updating that BMW, like the sound system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to get a couple of sponsorships from US Acoustics and One Audio for Infinite Baffle subs.
Oh, cool.
So that's that car. Now it has 315s. Two in the back to place Infinite Baffle so that car originally, it's behind the back seat, it's all steel. There's no the seats don't fold down, or there's no armrest or anything that folds. There's no ski hole pass or anything like that. So I just chopped up the car. Let's roll with it to 315s now.
Why not?
I mean, why not, right? Why the hell not? I mean, but see, so if you think about it, I'm trying to fix small things that I couldn't achieve with my last install. Right? Before, I couldn't, at the very beginning, I went with a 2-way plus sub, and I couldn't balance it out correctly, and I went mid basses. Right? Then the 12 seemed like it wasn't going low enough, that I went with a 15. Now that 15 does go low enough in the front, but like I said, I have to boost it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't love the idea of boosting things too much. So that's the reason why I went with the 215s in the back. Right now, I mean, to this day, it sounds amazing right now. So I mean, I can't wait until it gets judged in a few weeks.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the way it sits now. That's my situation now.
What's some of your most memorable times in all this? Because you've obviously had a lot of driving. You've had people you've met, stuff you've won, stuff you haven't, whatever. Like what really stands out to you as something that sticks with you because of doing car audio like this?
Oh man, I don't know. Meeting the people. I mean, I've known Natan for years, obviously, but I haven't seen him since the first time I met him when he competed. So it was really nice to see him at the first World Finals that I went to.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's other old people that I've known for years that I haven't seen. I've either haven't met in real life, or I haven't seen in years. So that was kind of nice part about it. And we all have the same goals, and we like the same thing. We like good music. We like loud music. I mean, I like loud music. Okay, that's how I blew a tweeter, but that's how I like loud music, and that's why I have 315s now, right?
Right. Understood.
But yeah, I mean, we all have similar goals, right? I mean, we love great music, and we like it loud.
Yeah.
We all get competitive. I mean, in California, it's the last maybe 3 years, it's getting really competitive. I mean, before it was a couple of guys and just everyone else. Now it's almost. I mean, Michael, you've been to West Finals. It was pretty stacked, right?
Yeah, it was a good show.
And that was without even Bruno going, Mark Bruno coming that year or this year.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty stacked show. So everybody, has gotten really good over the years of driving out to. I mean, a lot of these guys drove out to World Finals, and they get the bug too, right? So yeah, so it's meeting. It's basically meeting, and it was nice is what I also like about it is this is one thing that I don't tell a lot of people. When I compete, when I'm at a show, I love to demo the cars to new people. Just random people who are just walking around. They see, oh, it's a car show. Let's check it out. Those type of people. Because I like car audio. I like it so much that I want it to grow more. So I want more people in it. So I also like it when there's, I see some young guy, start to compete. His first year, maybe like 3 years later, he's amazing. He does amazing. His car does really well. So stuff like that. I like seeing stuff like that. So that's why I tell people. I mean, I don't tell a lot of people, but the BMW, it's kind of a car that I build for the people, for people who wants to listen to it. You know,
More of a
it's
demo
get
type thing.
yeah. I might win, I might not. I mean, the last year going to Arkansas, I thought no, I'm sorry, to Missouri, I thought I was gonna win, or I thought I was gonna do better. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still placed third overall at the whole show too. It wasn't just third place in my class. It just happens to be the number 2 and number 1 guys are in my class.
Right.
Right? So I couldn't win. I couldn't win, second or first, right? So it was. I mean, but it's Brian Mitchell and Natan. I mean, those guys are.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to get out of that damn class.
Tough crowd.
Yeah, it's a tough class. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I do for fun. It's really. I mean, I do really do it for fun. It's and like the spirit of all these sponsors they do that sponsor me. They're kind of they're kind of the same way. They do it for the fun of music. I mean, they don't tell you, oh yeah, we do it because we're trying to sell more speakers or whatever we're trying to sell. But I mean, when I talk to them, they seem like they do it for they like competition because if you think about competition, it's such a small fraction of car audio, right? It's a blimp in car audio sales, right?
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
it's that's why a lot of these guys don't tell me, oh yeah, we're trying to sponsor people because we're trying to raise our sales. They know that's not going to happen. Most likely, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless you're a new company or something like that. But a lot of these companies that I'm sponsored by, they're all companies that's been around for years.
Oh yeah, they're pretty established.
Yeah, they're established companies. So yeah, it's like I said, I do it. I do it for the people. I do it to please people. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I go full tilt on my demos sometimes. Full
Nice.
tilt. I mean, we're talking about. I mean, the way the BMW sounds right now, I'm guessing 130 dB, 125, 130 dB right now, which I guess is not too loud, but for full range, for everything, for 20K, that's pretty loud, right? For anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just if people are willing to listen, I'll just demo it all day long. All day long. There are shows that I've gone to that I've taken care of people who wanted to listen more than me wanting to go listen to other cars. Because a lot of times I go to shows, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to this guy's car. I want to listen to Larry's car or whatever's car. So a lot of times I'm in my car, demoing my car.
Yeah, you get stuck at your car.
You're kind of stuck with your car. It's like, oh, I don't want people. I don't want other competitors. So sometimes I want to go out and lend a hand to younger competitors.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, come and listen to my car because tell me what you think. It's not because I don't want to. It's because sometimes I can't get out of my car.
Yeah.
I get out of my car. Yeah.
I've heard some criticism, from people that they'd like to see more cars open at shows and stuff like that. And I totally understand that. But when you're given that many demos, it's kind of hard to have the car open.
It is. I mean, can you imagine like Brian Mitchell? There's a freaking line out his door, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has like one of those little ticket machines.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I don't care about. I mean, I more care about demoing to like younger people, not younger people, but like newer people, basically.
Yeah.
And I like demoing to SPO guys too. They're like, "Whoa, this is so different." You know what's funny? Sometimes I demo to people that I just meet, like, just like I'm not talking about a show. I'm talking about I meet people, right? That I get to know them a little bit. I tell them, "Hey," they ask me, "Hey, what do you do for fun?" I tell them, I do car audio competition. They're like, what? What the hell is that, man?
I don't know what any. Those were all words. I just don't know what any of that means.
I mean, it's like, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "So what? You guys go to a parking lot, just like bump rap music or something like that?"
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a lot more sophisticated than that.
No, see, we have people who just listen to stuff and give us their random opinion of it. It's much better than
It is. So the second question they would ask me is, okay, so how much money did they pay you? I'm like, nothing.
It costs me a lot of money.
You know what? And I'm like, when you win like $100, it's like It's so amazing though. Right? You spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on stuff, but you win $100 and you're like, you're a
It's like you
little
broke
kid
even all
basically.
at once. It's the worst game. It's the worst game of the craps table ever.
So and I tell them, hey, so almost every year I go out to world championships, and they're like, wait, there's a lot of people who does this. I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty decent amount of people who does this.
There's at least 80 of us.
I mean, not all at the same time, but
So I tell them I drive like 1,000 miles or 1,500 miles to like the Midwest or the East to compete. They're like, you spend all this money and you don't get paid for it. I'm like, no. Then I'm like, hey, you want to listen to the car? Listen to it. They're like, the first thing they say is, that's not what I expected.
Yeah.
That's not what I expected. I tell them, listen to a good pair of headphones. And that's what I'm trying to mimic. I'm trying to mimic a good pair of headphones or a good home audio system.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to mimic here. And they tell me that's exactly what it sounds like. Especially with the upfront bass, it's up there. It's like, so right now I have that the front sub playing 80 hertz to 30 hertz and the rear sub 30 and down. And right now it blends so nicely right now.
Nice.
So it sounds like it's all up front and it's so robust and so nice and warm. Actually, it's actually pretty warm sounding too. So, like I said, I'm pretty excited to bring that car out to some more events, some events. I haven't got to any event of this show yet with this car yet, not yet. So yeah. So my memorable events are just basically meeting some old people, some old friends, and just meeting new people. It's really, I mean, cliche, right? I mean, it's the people, right? But it really is true at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there are people who pounds the table for, I want to win. That's all I want to do is win. But I mean, there's only one winner out there, right? In each class, and if it's not it, better luck next year. You just keep going with it. I mean,
right.
That's what we do, right? I mean, every year, not the same team wins a sports, event. Except if you're Chiefs, I guess.
Oh, you gotta bring that up.
Well, not this year. But I'm just saying.
You gotta bring up old stuff.
But yeah, that's pretty much my competition background. I mean, I've been reading magazines. I mean, all these years. I mean, it's a shame that the magazines went out of production. Basically, nobody does magazines anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of good writers. They lost their job doing that. So. And I used to love reading it. I mean, so that's basically where I kind of learned my installs, also my installation techniques. It's from those installations in those magazines. So I tried to reverse engineer to see how they did that. Yeah, that's basically. I mean, it taught me a lot. I mean, probably more than college,
right?
But yeah, so. I mean, are you guys planning to go out to World Finals again this year?
Yeah, I'll be there.
As long as I can work it out schedule-wise, yeah, I plan to be there. It just depends on the schedule. Don't have much control of that, but I should be.
Okay. You plan to go there as a judge, right?
Not me.
Yeah.
No, Mike will be.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, Mike will be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Cliff? Then? What are you doing out there? Hanging out?
I'll just be there to pester people.
Well,
he's running all the behind the scenes stuff.
Somebody's got to be poking the bears.
He really does. Cliff works pretty hard, but he's always behind the scenes. So the guys behind the scenes are usually the guys who worked hardest, I guess.
I'm like a paddling duck. I try to keep everything underwater where people can't see what I'm doing.
Well, maybe you bring out your JDM van again.
Well, that's actually my son recently took that over. He's buying it.
Oh,
cool.
And we will probably be bringing it to Aggieland.
Cool.
Very cool.
So
you know what? It's thanks for reminding me. Aggieland every time I hear about it, it's sold up. It's all the ticket, all the passes. I mean, all of the entry fee, all the entries are all sold up. I'm like literally like a minute.
Yeah, you got to be on it like the first hour after the show's over, man.
And I mean, Aggieland has always kind of been an invitational, and I just kind of leaned into that. So it's pretty much, it's
Everybody that was here.
Yeah, the people who have been there over the years. That's I pretty much have everything done with the people who have been there before, but I do that on purpose because I try to control it to where I can also get in a mixture of new people that I know want in. So the people who are in the middle, sometimes get left out in that, unfortunately, because there's just not a way to, there's just no way to scale that show bigger than what it is.
Yeah, it's already busting at the seams.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's obviously disappointing to not be able to do more. At the same time, you got SVR. Richard, obviously, on the West Coast does a ton of events. I mean, so it's one of those things where it's just, it is what it is. It's usually sold out before it's even been announced. And that's kind of on purpose to a certain degree, to where we kind of make sure it's not completely a first come, first serve kind of thing. It's more just and that's where I try to keep, a baseline of what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I think the last couple of years and doing it that way, it's made a really nice mix of people who are there for the experience, to learn, to get, the feedback and everything else. And then also have the people who are there to win. And it makes it to where you don't have people who feel, because obviously, when you're a show in a money round, especially where you got 48 people, it's like, well, even if you look at the top 10, you got 38 people who quote unquote lost, So if you don't have the right mixture of competitors, and that's something that I guess that's where my skill set comes in over the years, has been, kind of socially engineering that, where you have the dynamics of the judges as a team, not as individuals necessarily. And then the dynamics of the competitors as a whole, not those specific things. And I'm fine, like I love Brian Mitchell, I love Natan, I love the Scott Waldas and the Mark Eldridges of the world and everything else. I don't really care if they're there. not because of them personally, I don't mean that. I mean just in the fact of it gets kind of predictable then on who's going to win.
Yeah.
But
let someone else win, right? Basically, right?
Yeah. So it's like you guys can show up, park your cars over here, and we'll all pay attention to you and make sure you're the coolest. But let's give some new blood a chance. So, and you have to have something to aim for. That's fine. I get it. But I think that has shaken up a little bit more, where it's not as predictable, just because judging styles and music and everything else is, it's not just the same old. And Richard's been a big part of that, behind the scenes. He's another one that doesn't, we've talked about it here, obviously, since you're in California and everything, but he's another one that paddles underwater a lot, that doesn't get the recognition he deserves for what he's, really brought to the table. And I think, what you were saying before, like in California, as far as it growing out there, I mean, that's just him being consistent and having the shows out there and people knowing that it's going to be there tomorrow. And, they keep coming out and it keeps building. And I mean, for West Coast finals to be perceptually not that big event, but practically as big as SVR was. I mean, I know from my angle, it was a lot of work still. So, and that wasn't the case a decade ago. I mean, because I was in California for West Coast finals a decade ago, and you didn't have that. You had 12 cars, 14 cars.
Yep. Yeah, like a dozen cars. That's it. That's all you had back then.
Right.
Yeah, it's 2 full days of work now.
Yeah. But no, I agree. It's having that shared experience of being able to get together with people and be able to talk about the shared hobby of it in a way that we can kind of sit next to each other and don't have to look at each other, and that's all good too. So it's it's kind of a dream for introverts, right? Like you can go hang out with people, but not really have to communicate with them all that hard.
Right.
Like, we're just going to sit quietly in my car for 10 minutes, and then you can be like, oh, that was awesome, and leave.
Yeah.
If you start talking, I can just turn up the volume. It works out perfectly.
I've never heard it quite like that before. And then just bounce.
Exactly. Well, bye.
Well, that reminds me, like, you get those guys who come in and demo your car. The worst ones are the ones who keeps talking. I'm like,
Right,
dude,
it's like,
come here, listen to my car. Don't talk to me, man. Listen to my car, right?
So everybody's different. You get some people that are
They're curious about things.
they're real gear guys. You know what I mean? So they'll get in and then they'll want to ask questions about what all do you have in here. I was like, well, let's listen to it first. But I mean, if you want to talk about the gear, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about gear, we'll just sit inside my car and talk about gear. I don't really care, but I mean, let's get to the experience and then we can talk about it. It's the way I like to do it, but some people just want to talk about the stuff, and that's fine too.
Yep, that's true.
But then you can be like, well, so I have this podcast. We can talk about that, and we can do that. We can do that from the comfort of our own homes. So it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Anything else on your mind, Vin? Any directions you want to see things happen in the industry or in competition or anything else? Or are you good?
I'm sure in competition. So in competition, it's not a gripe because you can't really do much about it. Is there's not enough judges, obviously, right? There's only a couple of judges here, a couple of judges there, and they're the same judges at World Finals. We could always use more judges, good judges, basically.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of people have told you guys that. It's all judging consistency. That's all you really want.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing to because it's kind of a weird skill set. I mean, yeah, you want good listeners on one hand, but on the other, consistency. Hopefully, you don't have any bias towards or against competitors and things like that, which we've mostly eliminated through the years. So you don't really see that so much anymore. But it's a tough thing, and then also a lot of people want to compete.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that would be pretty qualified, they would rather just compete.
I mean, competing is more fun. I mean, I've been told I should try to be a judge. I'm like, no, how? That's not fun to me. I mean, I don't want to be sitting there judging somebody's car. I want to listen to people's car, but not judging them, judging their cars. And I want to compete myself.
And I used to be that same exact way. I just wanted to compete and have fun. And I did for a long time, and then I was asked to judge more because I went to quite a few judges trainings, for Mecca and then Ayaska a few times. I did an IMA judges training, when Tom did one over at the shop. And so I've been to most of the judges trainings. I've done a mask one. So I've done most of them that have been available. So I didn't really get serious into judging till maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And then like last year, it was kind of full stop on competing and just judge everything I can,
Yeah, and there's a fine line between judging and competing, also, right? You really should only pick one of them. You can't do both of them.
Well, you can. It's tricky. Obviously, you can't compete in the same org that you're judging. That's
yeah, that makes no sense. Oh, I'll give myself 100.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, that's impossible. But so yeah, I mean, as long as you're competing in a different org or something like that, it's still possible. But it got to the point come finals time, it's difficult to be at your best for either side of it,
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I was very prepared like the last 3 finals that I had entered, because I was also judging, and then I also didn't feel like I was as focused as I could be on judging, because I was also worried about my car over here getting judged and stuff like that. So that's when I finally just decided I'll just judge. It'd be fine. I've got enough second place trophies.
All in modified.
Of course, everybody's in modified. Everybody and their moms are in modified, man. Everybody.
I've got 8 second place finals trophies.
Oh, jeez. I know that feeling. I've been doing this for way too long. I've never won a world championship or a finals championship. I've got runners up out the ass, but
Yeah, I got plenty of seconds. I'm looking at over here.
Well, that makes me feel better about my third place trophies. Then basically,
Yeah, it's no big deal, man.
And I would rather be third place any day of the week. Like third place is like you got on stage, like you're good, like your top 3, you can be like whatever. Second place is just a slap in the face because then it's like, well, I was this close to winning, like,
and you lost by half a point later.
Exactly, you find out. Or if you're Tom Myers, then you lost to me by 0.01 points. But who's bringing up old stuff, right?
Old stuff, man.
Why would I bring that up?
Yeah, there were several that I was part of that was like a split, because we'd have 3 judges for
right. So it's just
Mecca
tiebreaker.
Yeah, so we'd have one judge had this one in first, another one had this one in first, and then it's just who had the most weight on the scores.
Yep.
So, Mike, that one year you're in Missouri, you judged and you competed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, you did well on both sides. I mean, you judged well. I mean, and your car sounded amazing that year.
It sounded second place.
You lost by half a point, probably, right?
I'm not really sure. Actually, Missouri, I think I won. I think it was MASQ and got second for Emma.
Who'd you lose to?
Harold.
Oh, okay. Well, Harold was on the road that year, though. So really well.
He was tough to beat. His car was good.
Well,
yeah, it sounded good. I listened to it for Iasca because I was judging for Iasca that year, and I also competed at the one in Arkansas.
Yeah,
I did both there.
You judged there. You judged that year also.
Yeah, I judged for Iasca that one. Yep.
You didn't judge my car then.
I was judging
the lower classes, right?
Yeah, different classes. Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so my second, well, it's not really a gripe, but it's really it would be nice. It would be nice. I would do quote. It would be nice if finals was a little bit more west.
We've had that discussion.
Just a little bit more west. Yeah. I mean, it's you know what though. If my car is great, I'll drive to the East Coast if I have to. I'll drive to Florida if I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
If I know it's great, if I'm like, it's okay. If it's okay, I might drive to Texas or Oklahoma.
Right.
But I'm never going to, really far. I'm not going to, Arkansas. I'm probably not going to, where is it this year? Where is it this year? It's in
Alabama.
Alabama, yeah. I wouldn't go to Alabama. If my car is like, it's okay. Yeah. But if my car is really great, like I said, I'll drive to New York if I needed to. Right? But, I mean, it would be, you could put it into it would be nice category if it's a little bit more west.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple of states. I mean, I know if you go too west, you start losing East Coast guys, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem with so much of your base is used to having that circle, and so when you have the majority of your competitors expecting something to be within a certain distance, but I think that was where Kentucky, and we've had this discussion before, but I think that's where I think Kentucky was cool because it was fairly okay to get there from the West Coast, and it was consistent where we had been there several years in a row where it was like, okay, finals is probably going to be in Kentucky. I know how to prepare in my head. But when you don't know until when it's now Alabama or like it used to be Florida. I mean, it was spring break. That was finals.
Yeah, that would be hard for the West Coast guys.
It's hard for anybody.
Yeah.
But you know what though? You best bet the guys who are coming from the West to go to all the way to Florida, their cars are gonna be on point then.
They ready.
Yeah, they're ready to do. I mean, you're talking about Bruno and those guys. I mean, Bruno's kind of tow his damn car there, so he never drives. His wife drives it.
I was gonna say his wife has to tow the car there.
Yeah, his wife has to tow it there, and Bruno, kicks his feet up on the dash.
We need to get him on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should. There's some, Bruno and Welch, those guys too. Guys in the NorCal guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, Bruno talks. He'll talk,
And,
man.
and he's got history, dude.
Yeah, he has a lot of it. Bruno has been in my car for an hour one time. At finals, he was in my car for probably an hour. And he probably listened to maybe 2 minutes of music. The rest was talking. I'm like, dude, what are we talking? We keep talking about just random stuff. Oh, I used to be from Eclipse. You know,
Yep.
these speakers. There's a reason why they do this. The guy knows a ton. The guy knows a ton of stuff. There's these ribs. They have these speakers he has his ribs on. It's for a reason. It's not for aesthetics, stuff like that. So he's pretty nerdy too. But yeah, I mean,
so are we. So that works out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, man, at the end of the day, we're all kind of nerdy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and my final, I wouldn't say gripe, but I would say it would be nice if, maybe some of the higher level competitors has to do install too. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that make things interesting?
I think there's some orgs that do that.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, you mean
there's more than one.
Well, yeah.
Have you
true.
been to a competition lately?
No, it's been years, man. But
Yeah,
I mean,
both Iaska and Emma require it.
well, for Iaska, I know they require, but I'm talking about just all of them. I think it would be it would just make things more interesting because now you're not just showing off your tuning capabilities. You're showing off what you've done to your car, and and if it's safe, it won't catch on fire. Just things like even things like that. I mean, you see some people zip tie their fuse holder to another wire.
Yeah.
And it's it won't burn your car down, but it's you'll get 0 points from Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Iaska, I think it's Pro 3 and up. Basically, you've got to install, and Emma, every single class you got to do install. So.
Well, that's Pro 3, man. Nobody wants to compete against Natan and Brian Mitchell.
Sure, they do.
Do they? Okay. I mean,
if you really want to go up against everybody, I mean, that's where Emma comes in. Like everybody, no matter what the class is, you're doing install, and it's part of the combined score. It's not its own thing. So,
yeah, it is kind of scaled complexity as you move up.
Right. So,
yeah. I've that show in Missouri. I think I got 0 points from Emma. I mean,
for
nothing.
Install?
Yeah, install. Absolutely nothing. No. I take it back. 0 points in the creative install? Points. What's their bonus points?
Mike's like, this doesn't seem like a very good ask. If
you're trying to lose all contests.
I mean, that's Nick Wallace for you, man. You put his foot up your ass.
He ain't gonna give you. Yeah, he gonna give you room.
He's serious. He knows the rules very well.
But yeah, so I mean, my gripes are pretty minor. I mean, except for the judging thing. Judging needs to be the East Coast judge and the West Coast judge should be in the same. No, they should be close, basically. Plus or minus maybe 3 points. I don't know, a few points. It depends on the org, right?
Well, I think it's tough to pigeonhole a judge into being consistent within points of each other, but it is, I think, overall, when you look at the trends, and this is where I'm really trying to push getting more data out there for people to see how they actually stacked up against other overall against the other cars of the day, because I think that tells a better story than just the points themselves. It depends too, right? Like, I mean, it depends on the org. Like, I mean, if you've got a 200 something point score sheet versus like a Mecha 100-point score sheet, that scale changes a little bit.
Yeah, the variance would change there. Yeah, of course.
But you know what I mean? It's like I've seen enough to where it's difficult. I would be more concerned if judges were within points of each other consistently across the board than I would be if they aren't. It's like because that almost seems weirder. The probability seems much lower that they're going to be that consistent unless they've judged together a whole lot, unless there's a whole lot of dynamics and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the overall dynamic of it, again, I guess, and I'm not saying you're wrong in terms of wanting that, but at the same time, everybody hears stuff very different. Everybody focuses on different parts of the score sheet in different ways.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you'll see, just because I touch so many score sheets from a scoring standpoint, like I can see the signature in somebody's in the patterns of how somebody is scoring. And a lot of times I don't even have to look at who scored it based on just kind of how they're scoring. And many judges will be focused, because you cannot, especially at these bigger events, you cannot accurately. It's just part of the game. Like you can't go through every facet of every vehicle and sort that out to an nth degree in all these varying different things in 7 to 10 minutes per car.
Yeah.
Like
25 cars a day is tough,
and,
man.
and
Yeah.
even if you could, once you get past like now car 6, you're like, well,
They start to be real similar in a lot of areas,
so you kind of have to say, okay, this car excel, this is what I'm focused on. I'm listening to this song in these areas, and listening for, this is what's really important to me, and this is what seems to be standing out between the cars. So I'm focused on this area, but then another judge, and this is where multi-judging comes in. This is the most important
Yeah.
part to me, where I think where we have, 4 to 6 judges is kind of the sweet spot, and having that into play now, especially, and this is where I was talking about before, like having the dynamic of judges, because you're basically like at Aggieland, for example, I'm looking to make one good judge out of those 6 judges.
Sure.
Give me
Yeah.
one complete picture of what's happening here with those 6 judges and the cars that are combined. And now I have a picture with the combination of those things, not one thing. And that way, if you have an outlier on something or whatever else, but then you can look and see the patterns yourself, where, hey, 3 or 4 out of the 6 judges all consistently said this was above average and these things were below average. So that's probably right. Like, this is where I'm below average and this is where I'm above average. Now, what are the cars around me? What are they doing different? How can I bring the scale up to where I can keep moving up the path? So that's my goal in it anyway. It's like it's not necessarily to say we need perfect judges, but a more perfect system to put the judges into.
Right. I guess at the end of the day, you need kind of experience. You kind of have to learn these judges, learn what they're looking for, because every judge they kind of prefer something a little bit more, maybe a little bit more bass, or maybe some judges don't like a lot of bass, or they like a little bit more top end, a little bit more sparkle, possibly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so that does change scoring a little bit, right? On each judge. So you learn judges basically. I mean, I've done all these years, and I kind of learned these judges. I kind of learned what they like, and I know competitors. They have multiple tunes for each judge.
Yep.
I mean, I only have one. I mean, that's probably why I'm losing. But that's why. That's why I only have one. I mean, it's
That's the second place mentality that I have.
That's a second place right there. But I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't want to be sitting there. Oh yeah, which judge is this? I mean, oh yeah, it's Vinny. It's Vinny Taylor. Okay, so
Yeah,
or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, you understand. I mean, humans are different, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah.
We're not machines, right? So
it would be nice if you could just, whatever area you would get the same kind of result, but it just can't really happen that way. We still have people judging this, and people are just different, and that's the way it is.
yeah. Well, me and Paul Adams were talking about having like, what's that that dummy that they use to tune with the 2 mics?
Oh yeah.
That white dummy. What was it? What the hell was that thing from? I think it's
The
Moscone.
Moscone
I think
Yeah.
it's Moscone.
Arnie.
Arnie. Yeah. We're like, maybe this guy could maybe replace judges one day, basically.
Just put Barney in there.
Yeah.
Do the audio control RTA contest again.
Yeah, dude. That would be hilarious,
Well,
man.
so-
One of these
so-
days.
I have had thoughts on that, as far as if I do have faith in technology to be able to get to a point where, especially now with AI and everything we can put together with the, patterns and learned behaviors and historical data and everything else. But if there was, the problem is that there's not a whole lot of reason to go into this kind of depth on this, because there's just not enough, there's not enough money to worry about it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where if you could, because I was hit, the whole SQOLOGY thing came about after I was in Japan, and they were wanting to do what they call a GP, and it was they were talking about 150 to 200 competitors, and I'm
Whoa.
like, well,
Oh,
we're going to need this is where the thought process kind of first started hitting, and this has kind of always stayed there. In fact, I did have conversations with JL Audio about this about a year or two ago, once the Max came out, to see if we could use it for scoring data, since it's more multidimensional,
Right.
but my concept was not as a means of competition, but as a means of, hey, this is generally what we're looking for, kind of our own version of the JBL curve, for example. Like,
Sure.
this is generally what we're looking for in the best of cars, and so in order to ride this ride, you must be this high,
Sure. Yeah.
um and
Qualifier kind of a thing.
exactly, and let the let the analyzation get the top 48 sorted, to where
Yeah.
then you and then the people who don't make it in the top 48 at that point, before they get judged, they go back now with analysis of their system, how it stacks up to others. So they have data points to go back with, and you can charge them $15 a car and let them do it. It's like doing a
Yeah.
SPL pass.
yeah.
um but something like that, if you had the base to do it, like that, and there was a reason to do it, then you would be able to get people something tangible on how they can do better where they're at now,
Absolutely.
while also not completely destroying your staff.
Yeah. No, and I'm not opposed to doing like something like that. The problem with judging the whole thing, like that, which might even be possible, but the powers that be or whoever's running the thing has to decide, what's the parameters for winning, obviously, and that's
Right.
that's a whole different topic. But you would have to have, multiple. You would have to have mic arrays. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
can't and it would have to be probably in almost all the seats, because right now there's not really a good way for the microphone to know where the sound came from. It only really knows amplitude, and it can know timing and stuff like that, but it doesn't know direction, you know. So it knows if something's further away, but it has no idea where the hell it came from.
As far as like the axis of the speaker, you mean?
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it doesn't know if that sound came straight up out of the floor or if it came
Right.
from horizon level.
So almost like a version of the I can't think of the name of it right now, but the tool that like Aaron Hardison uses for
Correct,
measuring
correct.
his
Clipple, yeah.
loudspeakers. Yeah, the Clipple. Yeah, something
So
like that, but inside the car. That
exactly. So
yeah,
you would have to have lots of measurements, both vertical, horizontal, front to back. So you'd have to have three axes, of measurements to be able to decipher, height, um, direction from where the sounds came from and stuff like that. So then you could put together a little more accurate what the sound, kind of models like. But then there's
right.
even like weird things like stage depth, like that doesn't really come across in measurements that we perceive.
Mhm.
You could do obviously, distortion, harmonics, and all kinds of cool stuff can be measured. Even stage width, can be at least sort of measured, by how far off axis, it trails off.
Right.
Polar response is kind of, what they would best describe it as. But so a lot of that kind of stuff would I think gain a lot of insight as to what cars sound like, and at least it would have, like you said, really hard data points to back up what the judges are saying, and you would quickly find out what judges can correlate what they hear versus what is actual, and what is kind of make believe in their own head.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, and I mean that would be another thing too, that potentially being able to give the judges the data going in to be able to confirm or deny what's happening in the car, and I think, uh, I guess we would see that as cheating to a certain degree. I see it as more data. So
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, but at least you'll know, like, hey, this judge, when he says you need more top end, well, it looks like they already have plenty of top end, but he can't hear it. You know what I mean?
Right. Or I mean, on the flip side too. I mean, judges have a way. The communication of what the judge is hearing to what they feedback to you can be very different. Something that
Oh, absolutely.
it's the same car. I might get out of and say, it doesn't have enough top end. You get out of the car and say, man, your mid range from like 800 hertz to 1.6K is too hot, and that's
Yeah,
covering up the
exactly.
top end.
And we're kind of saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but it's
But
just
then
two different
they're like,
worlds.
well, this guy told me it was too much, and this guy said it was not enough. It's like, no, we were saying the same damn thing. It's just that,
Yeah, the delivery is a little different. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But at least, you could hand them like the sheet or the printout or a screenshot or
Right,
whatever
right.
and be like, this is what we were talking about. When you said you didn't have any low end, there's nothing after 40.
Well, because at that point too, kind of like your imaging map, right? You would be able to have a tonality map to be able to circle and say,
Yeah.
see this here, this is what I'm talking about. This song is where this is exhibiting it, and then you can almost have more time to be able to go into helpful feedback that only a person can give versus trying to be a human RTA.
Yeah. No, I'm all for it actually, which, the tricky part is, what's the target, and not only that, the size of the vehicles kind of impacts how we perceive
Bass.
loudness over octaves. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So the target would unfortunately be moving as different size cars.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I said,
So
it's not none of it's perfect in that regard.
right,
But I mean, I think again, working towards more data is better than less data, and I guess knowing that too helps people. Being able to explain that in the process helps people understand that as well, because that's obviously not something that is like, well, see, you have this big a car, so this is how this is affecting you. Like, I don't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
that's communicated a lot either, but
Yeah. Well, and it would give you something to really follow, because a lot of times if someone does very poorly or something, and then they ask um myself to help,
right,
the first thing I'll do is I'll just RTA it. I'm like, so let's see what it looks like. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I can listen and judge the whole thing again or something like that. But I mean, let's try to see if we can correlate the data to what the people were talking about. And then we have some actionable areas that we can work on.
right.
And so that's usually how I approach trying to help someone or solve some problem is you gotta have enough data to work with first.
Well, after listening to you two, I take back my comment about using a robot to listen to music, listening to judge basically, because I bet you there's gonna be a lot of boring sounding cars. I'm not
Well, so
kidding.
that
It's good.
and
That
that's
Harmon curve is not for me. It's kind of boring. It's like, oh gosh. It's
When I
so-
wasn't saying that specifically, it was more like, but you kind of have to have some kind of middle
right.
ground to
Somebody
go
yeah,
for it,
yeah,
you
some
know?
guideline basically.
someone has to, so whatever the organization that's doing this has to basically agree on what looks good. What is a good RTA that is pleasing to listen to on almost every system. And I have an idea, you know what I mean? But is it perfect? No, because some judges obviously don't like it as much.
Mhm.
But I have a pretty good idea. And so that would be a decent way to, if you had an event where like 200 people signed up, you could weed it down to like maybe 40, 50 that you got to judge,
Yeah, yeah.
because that would
I
be
mean, that's
really
the
tough.
prerequisite, basically what it is. I mean, it works. I mean, it probably would work then. I would say. If
Oh, and
2% people.
I've judged enough events now to know that there's some cars that you would easily filter out with just doing that. It'd be
Mhm.
real quick and
Right.
fast.
It's like
you
I
know?
don't even have to get in it at this point. It's kind of
Absolutely.
like during the tuner challenge too, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, it was like when you administered it, I'm sure you figured that out too. Like, I really don't need you to get in the car with me right now. I can tell you which one's going to win. I'm not even sitting over there.
Yeah, I'll just switch between them real fast and I'll just declare
We can pretend that we're going through the motions right now, but it's not really necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's none of it has an easy answer, and I think that's what makes it fun. And we've talked about this before too, but I mean, if you take something that is based off of measurements and objective data, SPL, the problem there is if you get it too good, as they have, and too, we're an open platform, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it is where everybody pretty much has the same, back when it started, you had expensive devices that were doing this, and people didn't have that at their house, so they went to the show just to find out what the heck they were doing, and then see how how they stacked up. And now the majority of the competitors have access to, or their own term lab, whatever else. It's like they all know what they're doing before they leave the house. So if I know that, the 7 people in my class, I'm coming up 4th or 5th, am I really going to spend the money to go there to compete just to do that? Like, and they've
Attendance on large shows would go down for sure.
and I mean, they've worked that out some, just in, I think, in terms of some of the, the longer form match offs and stuff like that, where, it's a durability test more than just the loudness thing. But yeah, I mean, it's not an easy problem to solve.
Yeah, because if it was too objective, then you would know
It's not funny
who
anymore.
won before you ever got there.
Yeah, it's not funny. So you need the human judges is actually what makes it fun, I guess, then you would say.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
what
the
makes
the
it interesting.
subjectivity. Yeah, the subjectivity is what
Yeah.
really brings it out, because we're all biased in different ways. We hear things in different ways, and I think putting that bias together really does make it sound better. It makes everything work out better, because you're like, oh, hey, if you had this going on, see here, listen to this song. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm after. And you're like, oh, I never listened for that before. That actually sounds kind of cool. I like that. I'll play with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know. I mean, it's interesting to. I mean, listening to YouTube, basically, I could listen to it from the other side, basically. So it's interesting. I mean, it makes sense, actually. I mean, there's no perfect way, right? But I mean, the human element of it does make it interesting to me. It makes it fun. It's what makes it fun, basically.
Yeah. I still think it requires at least some judges to verify, measurements, because I've seen some measurements that look fantastic and don't actually sound that good. But like I
Right.
said, that's kind of
Yep.
a 1 or 2 dimension kind of a capture, so it's not the full gamut that I would recommend for this. But I mean, even when you're looking at, like you're fixing phase or something with all pass filters, there's a lot of cases when it looks better on the graph, but sounds
on paper, it looks
absolutely
better, right?
worse. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a tricky thing.
I mean, but it also could be your ears. You may have some congestion or whatever going on, but you never know, right? But yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it could be anything. That's when you need more ears, basically, on your car.
Well, guys,
Yeah,
I think that about wraps it up, huh?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys having me.
We'll chat soon.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.